All right, guys, and here we go. We're live with my main man, Tyson Chartier. Man, top game management, fighter, coach, New England Cartel, father. I can just keep on going, my man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. Just trying to stay busy.
You and me both, man. I love it. Let's start right into the family, man. I saw it was your daughter's birthday a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, my baby girl, Ellison,
Wow.
she just turned 1 yesterday, so we had a party. So that was it was like a COVID party, so it was only like really close family. So it was, goes by fast, man.
It does, man. I was just going to say that, like, we had a couple birthday parties ourselves throughout the year in COVID with the kids and all. It's just such a different thing, man. There's no 20 get-togethers. We all would have a blow-up big, thing out in the yard and stuff. You can't do that anymore. It's crazy. But the kids, they know who cares about them. If you just show them love and good, life's good,
Yep.
How hard is it? You travel a lot. You're, Vegas, around the world. How hard is it to also be a family man and father and all that stuff with all the travel you do?
It's not hard because my wife's like amazing. She holds it down, and we have some help. We took the kids out of daycare once we added the third kid to daycare, it became cheaper to just have a nanny. So we actually have a nanny. So I get to see the kids a lot more. Like, I'm home now, kids are out on a walk, so I get to see them a lot more. It's good in that way. But they do miss me when I travel. I miss them, and it breaks up the routine a little bit. But it's tough, man. I try to really balance that out because I don't want to be one of those guys that gets, the kids gets in high school and then starts telling me like, hey, you were never around, So it's really trying to like pick my battles, travel when it's absolutely necessary, and then try to be upfront with my fighters. Is like, I'm not going to travel frivolously. I'm gonna go when it makes sense, when I can really add value, but I'm not going to go just to be there. So it takes a lot of buy-in on the fighter side too, because if I'm not there, then they see all these other managers that are there, and that can rub them the wrong way or whatever. So it's it's just about communication and letting the fighters know that I'm going to travel when it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's 2020, my man. Like, it's so unbelievable. You and I are talking, 12 states away. The technology now is just out of this world. So you can do FaceTime, and you can even sign deals and fight deals via email and signatures and all that stuff. So it's a different game plan. You know what I mean? And I think, like you said, fighters, I think everyone understands that now. Like, traveling's tough, family first and foremost. And yeah, we do travel it's what we do. It's part of the game. But it's just in 2020, we can do so much now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nice having technology. Like, I have a fighter that's fighting on the Contender Series tomorrow night, and we've talked every day. It's like I'm there. Dennis Pavin. You're virtually there. It's they still feel the love, and but on the reverse is when you do travel, you get to FaceTime home and see the kids, and we're lucky that we have that, because 20 years ago it would have been a lot different being away that long.
Oh my God. Yeah. FaceTime is incredible. Definitely. It's like the wheel, air condition, and FaceTime. 3 greatest inventions ever.
I'll go with that.
Very cool. Okay. You just mentioned that fighter on the Contender Series, UFC. I saw you just threw out a couple pictures about some regional scene stuff, like see on UFC Fight Pass. Man, like, do you still get that, the arm? Do you still get the goosebumps on a big fight feel? You've had so many guys go through the Contender and all of that. No, is it still as, the very first? You know what I mean? It's when you're that high, Calvin Kattar and big main events of Fight Island, it's you've done it all. You still get that feeling?
Yeah. So I think I've seen a lot of other coaches and camps that have kind of gone through, and you can tell they get a little burnt out, and it loses its luster, and they kind of start to dwindle their motivation for the sport and for these fighters. And I've always told myself, if I start to lose that excitement about, the lower level fight, you can call it lower level fights or whatever, that it's time to do something else. I got to challenge myself to something that's going to excite me, and because the fighters deserve that, and one of the reasons I got into managing is just to try to help my friends. And now as a manager or a coach, depending on what my role is with a certain fighter, is my goal is always to try to give the fighters what I didn't have when I was going through my own career. So they deserve the best. So if I'm not in it 100% and my heart's not in it, and I don't care when they lose and stuff like that, I got to do something else. It's just shocking to me where I'll be on fight week sometimes. I'll see a manager go out and corner a guy, and then he'll come back in and shower while his other fighter's fighting. I'm like, how? I could never do that. Like, I'm so nervous when these guys fight. Like, if I have Calvin on a card, but like, let's say Mike Rodriguez is on the card, but like 4 fights early, I'm taking the early shuttle and going with Mike just so I can be there and like help if I need the help, you know?
Of course.
You know, so I hope I never get to that point where I'm burnt out. And if I do, I think it'll show in my performance, and hopefully someone will slot me back into it, or I'll just be smart enough to get out.
One thing you said there, what you said, like the things that you do differently as a manager that you didn't get as a fighter. What's the one thing, if you said above all, what's the one thing you want to make sure you give to your fighters? What's the one thing you want to be like, hey, I'm here for this?
No, it's just to handle every decision with what's best for their career, not what's best for my wallet. And I think you see that a lot is managers, especially, you know, younger managers, they're trying to make a name for themselves, and they're like, oh, we got a guy at Bellator. It's like, yeah, but it's a horrible fight and it's great money. It's like, yeah, but they're going to lose. Like, it's just doing whatever's best for the fighter, even when it's not what's best for me, because what's best for me ultimately is what's best for the fighter. So I think that's, you know, it's sad that you can even say that, but just doing that, I think sets you apart from a lot of other managers. And then, you know, I always tell the guys, the only two things I can control as a manager is lying, if I tell the truth, and if I'm responsive. You know, I have some friends that have other managers, some of the best in the business, and they'll text their manager on a Monday and then Thursday night get a reply. I'm like, to me, that's just not acceptable, you know?
Right. It's a 24/7 thing, man. You know that.
Yeah.
So we just saw you out there a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, out there in Vegas with Calvin at the Schmo, doing some, you know, PR and all that stuff. It's unbelievable. Like even what we're doing today with podcasting and how big Joe Rogan is. I literally just saw on my phone minutes ago, Joe Rogan might do something with Donald Trump and the president. It's unbelievable how big MMA podcasting and media and shows have been, and it's almost vital. It kind of creates matchups. It creates buzzes for fighters or gyms of that nature. You know, how big, and did you would ever think that it would become this big now in 2020, like the MMA media podcasting sphere?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think obviously Joe Rogan's had a big rub on that, and you know, and then some breakoffs, you know, from that. You know, you see like Schaub doing really well, and guys like the Schmo have a place now. And I think, you know, Joe kind of broke down those barriers, saying like, listen, you don't need to be with Yahoo or ESPN to have your own show. You can get news out there. And I think, and then you're starting to see like the next level of that is like the guys that aren't with, say, an ESPN, and there's no knock on ESPN or Yahoo, they're great companies, but these independent guys like you, or, you know, the James Lynches of the world that kind of start out on their own and then climb the ranks. And now all of a sudden they're like another news outlet on their own. So, I think they do good. They get in, you know, with people like, you know, young fighters, like, you know, entry-level UFC fighters, or even local prospects, and they grow with them. So as you see the Calvins of the world coming out from fighting local to now headlining cards, they're always going to do that James Lynch interview because they have that relationship. You know, Ariel Helwani was interviewing a lot of guys before he was Ariel Helwani, and I'm sure those guys stuck with him the whole way, you know, and he stuck with those guys. So, you know, there's a new wave of, you know, journalists and stuff coming up that are following the footsteps of, you know, obviously Rogan and those guys, but then the James Lynches of the world. I'm just using him as an example because I've seen, you know, his rise from early on to where he is now. And now he's, you know, it's cool.
It's so funny, dude. I literally talked to James Lynch an hour ago. He's coming on an hour from now. So it's so funny that you're mentioning him. No, James is a great guy. Like I've watched him from afar, and I kind of like that. It's 2020, like we said, we keep on saying it. You don't need to be part of Fox or ESPN. Like you can create your own avenues. We got a studio here. We create our own wavelengths. We're really big on iHeartRadio. Some reason, somehow, our podcast is good with them. So we're loving it. We're running with that. So it is what it is. You know, it's that you don't have to be underneath one umbrella. And I also think, you know, this more than the next guy, when you're with a major company like that, they kind of have your thumb. You know what I mean? There's something
you censored. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They censor you a little bit. And this is, I have people from all 50 states on the podcast. I got my favorites. You know, it is what it is, but it's a good feeling to know that you can create your own avenues now.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to see, like, you know, uncensored opinions and people's you know, interpretations of things, and you know, you don't have to walk that line. Obviously, there's certain rules you can't break, but it's just good to see people just getting their voice out there and telling the stories of a lot of the younger fighters, and like. You know, it's good. It's giving everybody a platform. It's just helping grow the sport. Yeah,
but we had Tom Pags on. I think the kid's going to be an absolute beast. You know what I mean? Like we've had him on 2-3 months ago, And we feel like he's someone we're going to grow with, in the future. We'll see him in 6 years from now in a main event on Fight Island, if there is a Fight Island 6 years from now, but we'll see.
I hope there's not a Fight Island 6 years from now,
Right.
but the plan, if everything goes to plan, Tom Pags will be headlining UFC cards in 6 years. That's right.
There you go. Talking about, uncensored opinion, probably the biggest it's been out there in all realms and all medias was the Mikey Rods fight, the Ed Herman fiasco, the Ocean's 11 movie that we saw inside a cage. Would love your take on it. Would love your honest, blunt opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, right away, my first thought was, all right, we have to appeal this. I'm not one that I've never appealed a fight before, just because I think like it's a sport, there's human error. It is what it is. I think this one was a little egregious. Obviously, there was still some human error. I'm not mad at the referee. I'm not mad at Ed Herman. This isn't about being mad at anybody. It's just about doing what's right. Like, Mike shouldn't have that loss on his record for the rest of his life. And like, no one else should have to deal with what Mike's dealing with. Like, he just probably had one of the best performances of his whole career, beat a guy that he looked up to back when he was in high school that was fighting in the UFC, a really big name and a beast of a fighter in Ed Herman. And it should have finished with a second round TKO, and it just didn't work out that way because of, the ref made a mistake. And, fortunately the UFC, paid him his show money and win money. So he stays somewhat whole on that part. But he still got the loss on his record. And, unfortunately if something doesn't change, there's another guy that could fall victim to the same thing. So like, hopefully we go through this appeals process. We can get it changed to no contest. I don't think that would cost Ed Herman any money. We're not trying to do that. But I think at the very least, like, I think we shed light on the fact that we probably could leverage instant replay a little bit better than they are currently in MMA. And it's confusing because, as you're researching the rules for the State Athletic Commission in Nevada, is the way their rules are written online is they can actually call timeout during the actual bout and use replay. But then supposedly Ratner's saying that, and I'm trying to set up a call with Ratner, but supposedly Ratner's saying that, no, that's only for boxing, not MMA, but that's not how it's written. So I think there's a little bit of confusion. And then, when the UFC has their broadcast, they're saying it's only for fight ending sequences. So it's like, it gets a little, I don't think anybody even really knows what the clear cut rules are. So if anything comes out of this, it's hopefully they change it to a new contest, and then we shed some light on what the actual rules are. And if they really are not able to use replay for a situation like that, then it should be changed. So it's a no-brainer, because at the time, he does 2 clear-cut knees to the body, drops Ed Herman. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can argue that the fight was over. He was down, holding his legs, just looking like this, like about to. We all know that feeling when you get hit with the liver shot. It doesn't feel good. You feel like you're dying. Mike was finishing the fight. It was going to be a second round TKO, and then the ref jumps in, made a mistake. Maybe he didn't have a good viewpoint or whatever. And then if you run your clock, there was 3 minutes and 1 second from the time he jumped in and said rest till they started fighting again. So that 3 minutes is a long time to recover from a body shot. And then obviously, what happened in the third round happened, but it shouldn't have even gone that far. During that time, the way I understand it, after talking to some professionals in the industry on the referee side, is Tyone could have gone to the ringside officials and said, hey, can you review that? Was it a low blow? And they would have noticed right away, no, it was not. And then he has to go back to Ed and say, hey, you got to continue. And then if he had some timidity, he could threaten a point. And then if he doesn't go, the fight's over and we win by TKO. Obviously, this is a learning curve for me. This is uncharted territories. I don't think a lot of people know clear cut how this is supposed to work, because if you talk to 2 refs, they're going to have different answers. You know, if you read the rules, they have a different answer than what Ratner's saying and then what the referees did. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty that, was brought up because of this situation. And then, them saying that a fight ending situation is the only thing that can, result in using instant replay. But if you go back and watch the finish, he locked up the Kimura and then dug his toes into the fence 2 or 3 times to get the sweep. Obviously this is just sounds like whining and bitching after, but just bring up the fact that you have replay for that reason. So he commits a foul to get the sweep to finish the Kimura, and then that wasn't even reviewed. So it's kind of like, all right, well, why do we have replay then? And but obviously we don't want to get replay to the point where in an NFL where nothing's a catch now because of replay. Like, that's not where we need to get to. But I think situations like this we can use a common sense rule of like, all right, clearly Ed Herman didn't get hit in the nuts. He got hit in the body. Mike won by TKO in the second round.
Right.
But it just didn't pan out that way. So I think we owe it to the sport to continue with the appeal. Mike deserves not having an L in his record, but I think the whole sport deserves someone to stand up and say like, hey, listen, this policy seems a little wanky. Can we fix it? Because I don't want anybody else to have to go through what Mike went through, feeling like you just had the biggest win of your life, but you actually have a loss on your record. So it's
we said it a couple times, Tyson, like you said, it's 2020. Human error is a part of life and sport. People run through red lights all the time. That's life. But we have to get it right. At the end of the day, you have to get it right. And like you said, not even a grabbing of the cage early in the fight, but a game ending or a fight ending experience there needs to be corrected. Like you said, if they just went to the replay in that 1 minute, it doesn't take so long. Even the NFL, they go in this huddle and they're gone for 5 minutes. Me, you, my wife watching the fights with me, 10 seconds. They showed 2 replays. They're like, that wasn't a nut shot. That was a body shot. And my wife even said, oh, that guy, Mikey, was going to finish the fight. Yes. Like, and you know what I mean? She's a sub fan. It's not brain science. It's not rocket science. You said the word common sense. I love common sense. It should be the whole world should be under common sense thread. It's just, we got to get it right. At the end of the day, not even the money part. You mentioned the money. It was great by Dana, Uncle Dana, to give the money to Mikey too. But it was just like the win, the momentum. Now someone sees what Mikey went through in the third round about it's just so much more happened that shouldn't have not happened in that fight. You know what I mean? It was crazy. It was just not a good scene, I don't think. And to kind of put the feather in the hat, I guess, we need UFC is just too big. They're just too monstrous of a company. They got to get a replay. They got to get a replay, a common sense replay. If it's a cage grab, whatever it is, maybe if it's a really bad cage grab, there was a heavyweight a couple months ago that did that. If they didn't grab the cage, they would have had their back. You know what I mean? Like big things. We not a 5 minute back and forth, just a real quick 1 minute, 30-second. Oh, this is what needs to happen in MMA replay.
Yeah, no, I think it's an easy fix. I think, and the way I'm reading it, it looks like, the rule reads that the referee at any time during a contest or exhibition call a timeout to consult with officials of the commission to view a replay footage. So it's like the rule's there. Yeah, I just think maybe there's a lot of confusion on what it actually means and if they're even allowed to use it. So hopefully we can shed some light on that and then get that loss off Mike's record.
Real quick. That's awesome, my man. I know you got family coming back. I got 10 cool, fun questions for you. We'll hit them real quick and we'll let you go. All right, my man?
All right.
Appreciate it. Who would play you in a movie about you?
Oh, geez. Well, I get made fun of for being chubby all the time, so maybe we'll do Zach Galifianakis.
Dude, classic. I love that, man. If you ever started a charity, what would it be for?
Probably for I grew up pretty poor. We had some bad stuff as a child. So probably for underprivileged children, something for low income kids.
Nice. Love it. Your all-time favorite movie?
Gladiator.
Beach or mountains?
Oh, mountains.
Your first job?
I was 11 years old. I picked up apples that fell out of a tree at an apple orchard for $0.25 a barrel.
Love it, man. Golly, look at that. And you got the office in the upstairs, the crown molding. I love it. Your favorite piece of technology?
The iPhone.
Dead or alive, 2 people to have dinner with?
Dead or alive?
Yes, sir.
Probably my mom one more time, and then Uncle Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go
your favorite podcast or TV show?
I mean, I got to go Rogan is the podcast and TV show. I've always been a fan of Dexter.
Oh, good one. Good one. The ending was a little weak there.
But it left it open. Something more can happen down the road. I'm hoping for that. But
they come back and they should do a movie. Let's wrap it up, But yeah, it was a great show. Really underrated show. Season 4 with the wife. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was good.
Last one, my man. In year 2025, you will be?
I mean, hopefully, we'll go down. My fighters will just have so much success that I'll be, still 3 healthy kids. My fighters will be doing so well that I'll be recognized as one of the best coaches and managers in the business. And we'll just be happy and healthy.
Love it, man. I think we did the whole interview without mentioning Calvin Cater.
That's a rare one, right?
I know. No, man, that's awesome. I hope he has a big thing coming up. There's only big things in front of him, in front of you guys, and we wish nothing but the best, man. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I know you're a very busy man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.